Hey guys, we are going to do a math lesson today. I need you to get to page 834 in your math book to follow along as I teach you all about quadrilaterals today. We're going to classify quadrilaterals today. So, as you get to your page there, 834, again, quadrilateral, we kind of talked about it. I remember talking about this while we were in school a little bit. Remember, quadrilaterals are shapes that have four sides. That where that part quad means four. So we're going to talk about four-sided shapes today and be able to classify them to be more specific. So hopefully you are on page 834, and we're going to go over the five different quadrilaterals we're going to talk about today. All right, it says quadrilaterals can be classified by their angles or the line segments that make their sides. Which of the quadrilaterals shown have only one pair of parallel sides? Which have two pairs of parallel sides? All right. So what we're gonna be able to answer that question after we go over the quadrilaterals. All right. So I got my board here with the quadrilaterals we are gonna go over. So let's talk about parallelogram first. All right. So parallelogram right here. Okay, a parallelogram has two pairs of parallel sides. Remember, the word parallel means they. We talked about this in previous lessons. Parallel are two lines that, if they go on forever, will never ever touch. So this has. I know my drawings aren't the greatest, but if you look at your book, they're better. But my parallel lines, we got this one, and the top and bottom are parallel. They'll go on forever. If they go on forever in both directions, they'll never ever touch. And then we got the two side ones here, this one and this one. If they go on forever, they'll never ever touch. So parallelogram has two pairs of parallel lines. So let's go on to the rectangle. So the rectangle has four right angles. Remember, a right angle makes that L shape, right? Okay. So a rectangle has four right angles, and you guys knew that already. And how many pair of parallel lines does a rectangle have? Remember, the lines that go on forever that never ever touch. Yeah, a rectangle also has two pairs of parallel lines as well, top and bottom, and then the two sides are parallel. Woo, it's a little windy today as I try to do this outside. Now we'll get through it. So the rectangle has four right angles and is also a parallelogram. Remember, we talked about a parallelogram over there. Parallelogram has two pairs of parallel lines. So a rectangle, we can call it a rectangle to be more specific, but it's also a parallelogram too because of the two parallel lines. All right, so go on to our next one. We got our square. All right, square. Of course, a square has four right angles, has four angles that make the L. We got, as you look right here, the square. Got that one, that one, that one, and that one. So four right angles. So, but a square, as you guys know, all the sides have the same length. All right. Now, how many pairs of parallel lines does a square have? Of course, we know two. The top and bottom, if they go on forever, they'll never ever touch, and the two sides will never ever touch as well. So it has two pairs of parallel lines as well. So we could call a parallelogram, we call it a parallelogram because of two pairs of parallel lines. We could also call it a rectangle because of the four right angles. But to be more specific, it's a square. So we can call it all those things. And of course, out of all these things are quadrilaterals. So we can call it, so like square, we can say it's a quadrilateral, it's a parallelogram, it's a rectangle, but also it is a square. So we can name it those four different things. We could actually call it one more thing that we're going to get to next. Let's go on to right down here. Whoop, this one right here. Rhombus. A rhombus is a quadrilateral, has four sides, as you see. Has four sides. Has opposite that has opposite sides. It's the sides are parallel. So we got two pairs of parallel lines, the two top and bottom and the two sides. All right. All the sides are the same length. Okay. So all the sides, top, bottom, the two sides are all the same length if we measured them. Okay. But why can we not call that one a square, the rhombus? What's the difference between the square and the rhombus? We know all the sides are the same because if you say all the sides are the same, oh, it's going to be a square. What's the difference between a square and a rhombus? Ooh, the angles. Does the rhombus make right angles? No. It has two obtuse angles and two acute angles. We got our obtuse angles right here. This one and this one. And then these are our two acute angles. Remember, obtuse bigger than 90 degrees, acute less than 90 degrees. All right. So that's a rhombus. So we got that. Let's go on to a trapezoid. Then we'll answer our question from our example. A trapezoid. Look, you can see it there. It is a quadrilateral. It has four sides with only one pair of parallel lines. So, which ones are the parallel ones? Yeah, the top and bottom. The top and bottom are parallel. If they go on forever, they're never going to touch. What about the two sides? They're kind of like pointed in, right? So if they go on forever, they're eventually going to cross and intersect. Okay, because you can see because they're pointed in. If they went on forever, they're going to touch. So those aren't parallel. Okay, in the trapezoid. So let's go on to our question again. It says which two have it says which of the quadrilaterals shown have one pair of parallel sides, which have two pairs of parallel sides. All right, so one pair of parallel sides is the only one that has one parallel sides is the last one we talked about, the trapezoid. Then they want to know which have two pairs of parallel sides. Well, all the rest of them have two pairs of parallel sides because they're considered in their explanation it could be a parallelogram because the parallelogram has two pairs of parallel sides, top bottom, rectangle, top bottom, or top bottom side side, sorry, a square, top bottom side side, and rhombus, top bottom side side. So that one we use all of our different quadrilaterals to answer that question. Okay, so let's go on to some examples and let's classify the different shapes here. So it's on page 835 in your book. We're going to look at 8, 9, 10, and 11. Okay, so 8, 9, 10, and 11 in your book. So we're going to look at. So number 8, since it is windy, I got to get my boards here. My racing tile is going to blow away. All right, so let's look at number 8 first. So look at that number 8, and we got to name it everything we can. So if it is four sides, you automatically have to put quadrilateral. Okay, so that's going to be part of our description. So let's look at number 8. Is it four-sided? Yeah, it is. So first thing I'm going to write for number 8 is it's a quadrilateral. You can write it in your book with me as I write it down. So quadrilateral. Okay. Now let's look at it. So let's look at our other quadrilaterals that we just kind of went over. Which one could it be? What else could it be? Now, as I look at the shape here, and look at it in your book, and you can look at mine, does it have all the sides let's look at here. Does it have right angles? No, that does not have right angles. They don't make L's, so we can eliminate rectangle, square automatically. Okay. What else can we eliminate? Well, it has two pairs of parallel lines. Ooh, it has two pairs of parallel lines? What can we name it? Ooh, we can automatically name it a parallelogram. So let's write that next. Parallelogram. So parallelogram. Yeah. So we know it has two pairs of parallel lines, so we're going to name it a parallelogram. We already said we can't name it a rectangle and square from our thing. Right here, right? Now, the only other thing we have left is a or not trapezoid, because it can't name it trapezoid because it has only one pair. That trapezoid only has one pair of parallel lines. What about a rhombus? Could it be a rhombus? Now, remember, a rhombus has to have all the sides have to be the same length. If we look at that, the top and bottom are longer than the sides, so it can't be a rhombus. So these are the only two things we can. Oh, wrong board. These are the only two things we can name it is a quadrilateral and a parallelogram. All right, let's go on to number 9. Number 9 with my fingers that kind of getting erased on my board, but you can kind of see it on yours. Okay, so first thing we can name it automatically. What? It's four-sided. Any four-sided shape is a what? It's a quadrilateral. So let's write that down first. So quadrilateral. So I wrote that down. All right. Now, let's see if we can name it a parallelogram. Does this shape have two pairs of parallel lines? As I look at it, let's look at this one's kind of like a diamond shape. It looks like, so it has like the two diagonals. Let's look at the right, the top right diagonal with the bottom left. So if I go on forever on those, would they ever touch? No. Let's go to top left and bottom right. Those go on forever. Those go on forever. Would they ever touch? So boom, boom. No. Can we name it a parallelogram then? Yeah, we can name it a parallelogram. It has two pairs of parallel lines. So let's name it that. All right. Now, what can we not name it automatically? Let's look at it. Does it have right angles? No, it does not have right angles, so we can't name it a rectangle or square. What about a rhombus? Can we name that a rhombus? To me, all those sides are the same. So we can name that a rhombus because all the sides are the same. So let's also write on this one for number 9, a rhombus. So number 9, we can call it a quadrilateral, parallelogram, and rhombus. All right. Great. All right. So number 10. All right. So it's like a traffic sign there. Looks like a one where you're merging, like you're merging onto a road right there. You can see that traffic sign for number 10. I didn't draw the traffic. I guess I could have write the traffic symbol on here real fast. So the one that kind of looks like that for number 10. All right. So first of all, what can we name it? Is it four-sided? Yes. We can name it a quadrilateral. All right. Now, can we name it a parallelogram? Does it have two pairs of parallel lines? Yeah, it's kind of like our last one a little bit with like the diagonals. So if those lines go on forever, are they ever going to touch? No. Yeah, they'll never touch. So we can also name it a parallelogram. All right. So we got the parallelogram. Now, let's see. Does it have right angles? Look at that. Look at that shape carefully. Think about it. Do you think that has right angles? Now, a lot of times we look at these and we see that, if it has, we think of a square being up and down, rectangle be up and like kind of like straight, right? Now this one does have right angles. It makes the L's like, and with your pencil or pen, whatever you're using at home, try to make those boxes where the angles are. So if I'm going to do it on mine, you can kind of do it with me. So if I make a box right here, yeah, I can make those squares right here. Yeah, it has 4 right angles. So it has 4 right angles. What can we name it then? Looks to me all the sides are the same, so I'm gonna put square. What else can we name a square? If it has 4 right angles, 2 pairs of parallel lines, we could also name it a rectangle. All right. Now, anything else we can name it? Oh, don't get tricked. Don't forget one. What has all the sides are the same and 2 pairs of parallel lines? Oh yeah, that rhombus down there. Okay. We could also name this a rhombus. Because of the two, all the sides are the same and the 2 pairs of parallel lines. Now, we know a rhombus doesn't have right angles. That's okay. But we can also name a square a rhombus because of the 2 pairs of parallel lines and all the sides are the same. But we can't name a rhombus a square because of the right angles. Hopefully you get that, understand that. If you don't, remember, ask me on Go Guardian. I'll be glad to clarify that for you. Okay, so this one has 5 different things we can name it. So we can name it a quadrilateral because it's 4-sided. Parallelogram has 2 pairs of parallel lines. A square has all right angles and all the sides are the same. Rectangle because of the right angles and the 2 pairs of parallel lines. And a rhombus because of the 2 pairs of parallel lines and all the sides are the same. Woo! Catch my breath. Number 11. All right, number 11. The football field. I know I didn't draw as detailed as in your book. The football field. Okay, now let's look at the football field. Is it 4-sided? Oh, of course it is. So we're going to name it a quadrilateral. So write that down. All right, now, does it have 2 pairs of parallel lines? Yeah, the top and bottom side, the 2 sides. Are they ever going to touch? Like the top, bottom, are they ever going to touch if they go on forever? No. The sides? No. So there's a parallelogram. What else can we name this? Now, does it make right angles? Yeah, it does. We have our right angles. If you want to draw them in with me, you can. I got my right angles, as you see there. Okay, now, are all the sides the same? No. The top and bottom are, if you think about a football field, the 2 sidelines are much longer than where the end zones are, right? So it's not a square. So if it's not a square, it can't be a rhombus. We already know it can't be a trapezoid because trapezoid only has 1 pair of parallel lines. So what's the last thing we can name it? Yeah, a rectangle. So we can name that a rectangle. Okay, so that's how we're going to classify, a little lesson on how we're going to classify quadrilaterals. Okay, so on your practice buddy, you're going to be classifying some quadrilaterals for me. Now, what you need to do is I would use page 834 in your book. I would have that out open alongside you as you're doing your practice buddy. So you can kind of see all of these different quadrilaterals. Okay? And then as you're going to go through, kind of like we did, go through each of your shapes you're going to have to classify, and let's name it everything we can, because you're going to lose points if you miss some of those. Okay? I want you to name it everything it can possibly be. Remember what each one has to have. So remember, a rhombus, okay? We can name, like, if it's like what we did here for number 10, we can name that a rhombus, because remember, rhombus doesn't have right angles, but it has 2 parallel lines and all sides the same. Now, remember with the rhombus though, can we name a rhombus a square? No, because the square has to have right angles, right? So you're going to name it everything it can possibly be. Okay? If you have questions, I'm available on Go Guardian. Please ask. Don't be afraid to ask. That's why I'm here. All right? Good luck on that. You guys will do great, and we will talk to you soon.